जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारे जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारे यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना यमुनतीरावनचारि यमुनतीरावनचारि जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Jaya Krishna Rukmini Jaya Satyabhama Krishna Rukmini Jaya Satyabhama Jaya Nitai Gauranga Jaya Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Jaya Nitai Gauranga Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jam Vishpad Param Saparviraj Kashtottara Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki ISKCON founder Acharya, PPG founder Acharya, several the whole world, Jayadguru Srila Prabhupada ki, Srimad-Bhagavatam ki, Vrindadevi Tulasi Maharani ki, Shri Krishna Rukmini Satyabhama ki, Shri Nitai Gauranga ki, Jayadguru Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayesha Bhadresha Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5, entitled as Narada's Instructions on Srimad-Bhagavatam, text number 40. Tvam api adabhra shruta vishrutam viboho Tvam apyadharva shruta vishrutam viboho Tvam apyadharva shruta vishrutam viboho Sampayate yena vidam bhubhushitam Sampayate yena vidam bhubhushitam Sampayate yena vidam bhubhushitam Prakyahi dukhe muhur arditatmanam Prakyahi dukher muhur arditatmanam Prakyahi dukher muhur arditatmanam Sanklesha nirvanam ushanti nanyatha Sanklesha nirvanam ushanti nanyatha Sanklesha nirvanam ushanti nanyatha Tvamapi adharva shruta vishrutam viboho Sampayate yena vidam bhubhusitam Prakyahi dukher muhur arditatmanam Sanklesha nirvanam ushanti nanyatha Tvamapi adharva shruta vishrutam viboho sampayate yena vidhambu putsitam prakyahi dukkair muhurarditatmanam sanklesha nirvanamushanti nanyatha. What word meaning? Tvam, your good soul. Api, also. Adabhra, vast. Shruta, Vedic literatures. Vishrutam, have heard also. Vibhoho, of the Almighty. Sampayate, samapyate, satisfied. Yena, by which. Vidam, of the land. Bubhushitam, who always desire to learn transcendental knowledge. Prakyahi, describe. Dukkaihi, by miseries. Muhuhu, always. Ardita atmanam, suffering mass of people. Sanklesha, sufferings. Nirvanam, mitigation. Ushantina, do not get it off. Anyatha, by other means. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. Please, therefore, describe the Almighty Lord's activities which you have learned by your vast knowledge of the Vedas, for that will satisfy the hankerings of great learned men and at the same time mitigate the miseries of masses of common people who are always suffering from material pangs. Indeed, there is no other way to get out of such miseries. Translation with repetition. Please, therefore, describe the Almighty Lord's activities which you have learned by your vast knowledge of the Vedas, for that will satisfy the hankerings of great learned men and at the same time mitigate the miseries of the masses of common people who are always suffering from material pangs. Indeed, there is no other way to get out of such miseries. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Sri Narada Muni from practical experience definitely asserts that the prime solution of all problems of material work is to broadcast very widely the transcendental glories of the Supreme Lord. There are 4 classes of good men and there are 4 classes of bad men also. The 4 classes of good men acknowledge the authority of the Almighty God, And therefore, such good men, when they are in difficulty, when they are in need of money, when they are advanced in knowledge, and when they are inquisitive to know more and more about God, intuitively take shelter of the Lord. As such, Naradaji advised Vasudeva to broadcast the transcendental knowledge of God in terms of the vast Vedic knowledge which he had already attained. As far as the bad men are concerned, there are also four in number. 1. Those who are simply addicted to the mode of progressive fruity work and thus are subjected to accompanying miseries. Those who are simply addicted to vicious work for sense satisfaction and so suffer the consequence. Those who are materially very much advanced in knowledge but who suffer because they do not have the sense to acknowledge the authority of the Almighty Lord. And the fourth, the class of men who are known as atheists, who therefore purposely hate the very name of God, although they are always in difficulty. Sri Naradaji advised Vasudeva to describe the glories of the Lord, just to do good to the all 8 classes of men, both good and bad. Srimad-Bhagavatam is therefore not meant for any particular class of men or sect. It is for the sincere soul who actually wants his own welfare and peace of mind. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the first canto, 5th chapter of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled Narada's Instructions on Srimad-Bhagavatam for Vasudeva. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnana-anjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are hearing from Narada Muni. So these instructions are spoken to Vasudeva. So this is the context of this verse, where Narada is concluding his instructions on Srimad-Bhagavatam. So the context of this verse is that when Vasudeva, after compiling all Vedic literatures, he put it into writing of the 4 Vedas. Shri Krishna Rukmini Satyabhama ki jai, Shri Nitya Gauranga ki jai, Jai Shri Prabhupada. So after Vasudeva writing all the Vedas and divided into sub Vedas, also wrote Upanishads, Puranas for understanding of the less intelligent people. He wrote Mahabharata and also he compiled Vedanta Sutra. Still, he was not satisfied. He was despondent at heart. So when he started meditating for the cause of dissatisfaction, so that time Narada Muni arrives. So that is the context where Vasudeva kindly receives Narada Muni and inquires from him, what is the cause of my despondent, or what is the cause of my dissatisfaction in my heart, even though I have compiled or put into writing so many Vedic literatures. So then Narada Muni started instructing, and these are the series of verses Narada Muni spoke to Vasudeva to make him happy or make him satisfied by what is known as compiling Srimad-Bhagavatam. So that is where Vasudeva got inspiration to write Srimad-Bhagavatam by Narada Muni's instruction, which actually made him satisfied. So that is the context of this chapter. So even though Vasudeva compiled so many Vedic literatures, still people are not able to get the happiness which is actually at the core of the heart. They are not able to satisfy, they are not able to feel the bliss of life. So that's the nature of every living entity, that every living entity wants to be happy. Every living entity desire is to be, I want to be happy, I want full knowledge, I want to exist eternally. So that is the nature of, that is the constitutional position of the living being. So That's what Vedas point out, that we are all hankering for what is known as Sat Chit Ananda. That is a primary force or primary desire of a living entity, to always exist and to be in full knowledge and always want to be pleasure or always seeking pleasure. So that is the primary goal of a living entity. That is actually our constitutional position. As a spirit soul, we are all hankering for to be always happy, to be in a position of Satchidananda eternally. But because being accepted these material bodies and in ignorant of our true constitutional position as part and parcel Supreme Lord, in ignorance we are accepting ourselves as this body, and we are trying to seek the same thing in a perverted manner. In the conditioned life, we are trying to be happy by exploiting the material nature. Because we have identified ourselves as this body made up of matter, so our immediate desire is to get happiness for this body, make somehow comfortable, make this body pleasurable, whatever it means. So the immediate way to get happiness is to exploit the material senses. So we see all around us, we are the body, others are the body, and everything else is the material nature which is existing already. So how can I exploit this nature for making my body comfortable? So that is a drive. Everybody is working hard. So how science, everything is researching? Because everybody, by nature, Krishna says, life in this conditioned life is miserable. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Dukkhalayam ashashvatam. So, by nature, the conditioned life means we are in struggle for existence. Krishna also says, we are actually Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loka. We are actually part and parcel of Supreme Lord. Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loka Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha Manas Shashtendriyani Prakriti Sani Karshati. So, we are all struggling by accepting this body, which including of 10 senses and subtle senses. So that way we are struggling. And the Krishna says it's dukkhalayam. So everybody's desire is to come out of this dukkha. So everybody tries to come out somehow by some material adjustment, but thinking that I am the body, so what I can do for the bodily comfort. So if suppose it's very hot, so we invent fan. If it is traveling is very troublesome by walking, so we invent engines, motor cars. So all this material development is actually wants to mitigate the miseries of the living entities, because they are thinking that this material adjustment, this material advancement can make me happy. That is a drive everybody is looking forward. But in the conditioned life, that is in the bodily concept of life, we are always encountered with three miseries. So when you accept ourselves as the body, when you think I am the body, then the nature which enforces three kinds of miseries upon every living entity. There is no exception for this. So Shastra says, Adhyatmik, Adibhautik, Adidaivik. So these are the three miseries caused by our own bodily constitution, and caused by other living entities, and caused by external forces or the superior nature which inflicts miseries upon us. So that's the nature of this conditioned life. So nobody is exceptional to these forces, these miseries which are all making the living entities suffer. Because we are accepting ourselves as body, then these miseries are inflicting upon us. Just like recently there is a Wayanad, landslide. So people thought that it's a very beautiful place, hilly area, so let us build nice houses and also make a business out of it, whether it is river or whether it is a pathway, or we don't consider, build something and get some money by giving rent, that scenery, resort or a hotel, whatever it is. So they don't see there is a imminent danger. It's because they are maddened by the scenery and the enjoyment which is giving by the nature. Nature is giving, nature is there already, but they want to exploit that. So that's why they build so many things in a place where it is not safe. So what happened? Suddenly a lot of rain came and landslide came, all the houses got flooded, and so many people have died, about 350 plus. So, but people thought that this is a very scenic and very wonderful place, so we can enjoy nicely, we can exploit this nature, and we can exploit this for business purpose, so we can be happy. But finally, the nature is very strong, nature is very fearsome, so we cannot expect, we cannot extract happiness just like that. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Devi Esha Gunamayi Mama Maya Durartaya. It's very difficult to conquer, very difficult to exploit. You think, okay, I can exploit, but immediately there is a reaction. So every action you think you can exploit, you may get some happiness, but the other side also comes, distress, the miseries also comes. So that is the nature of this. This is an example for miseries inflicted upon us by Adi Daivika forces. So we don't know what did I do, something else came, so it's not in my control, but miseries have come upon us. Similarly, our own body also inflicts miseries, correct? We always want to be healthy, but there are unexpected diseases will inflict upon us. Suppose, even though you may be rich, there are so many miseries due to our own body. Just like we recently seen one of the son of richest man in India, Mukesh Ambani. So his Anant Ambani was telling in one of the in the festival, a lot of celebrities they did. So I may be born with a silver spoon in my mouth, but because of my body, because of my diseases, I was not able to enjoy the facilities which I got by the nature arrangement. So it means his body is inflicting a lot of sufferings on him. Even though he may have a lot of money, that is not able to cure him. So the inflicts by our own bodily, mental and physical miseries are enforced upon us. And also miseries we see from other living entities. Whether you may be good, the other living entities will come and harm. Just like in the rainy season, mosquitoes will come and harm us. We did nothing, but suppose in the current Bangladesh crisis, some people, they are innocent, they didn't do anything. Some other living entities are coming and attacking them and killing even. So these are the miseries enforced upon by other living entities. So our desire is to be happy, but when you accept, when you live in this material world, in the concept of condition, bodily conditioned life, these are the miseries which are inflicting upon us. So this is the position of a person who are bereft of the true constitutional position of one's existence in this material world. So this is called conditioned life. Suppose somebody is reading the Shastras and understanding that I am not this body made up of matter, I am a spirit soul. So how he actually lives here. So that's what Narada Muni wrote for all the people for benefit. He divided the Vedas and compiled so many literatures to mitigate the miseries of the material world. So, but still, people are not happy. People are still not resolved or not got the mitigation of miseries, because even though somebody may follow the Vedic path which is delineated by Vedavas, still he is not under completely came out of miseries. That is because he is still attached to the bodily concept of life and still attached to the enjoyment which is come in touch with the senses and sense objects. So that is not removed from the core of his heart. So his identification with the body is still remained. So he is not completely purified of all the contaminations in the heart. That is, the conditioned life is still inflicting miseries upon him. So that's what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Even though one may understand the Vedas and follow the rituals of mentioning the Karma Kanda portion of the Vedas, that is what Vyasadeva compiled. Most of the 99% or 90% of the Vedas is explaining about Karma Kanda portion. So Krishna also says here, Yam imam pushpitam vacham pravadanti avapaschitaha vedavada ratah partha nanya dastiti vadinaha kamatmanaha swargapara janma karma phala pradham kriya vishesha bahulam bhogashwarya gatim prati. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, result in good birth, power, and so forth. Being desire of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. So even those who are following the Vedic tradition, Vedic injunctions, so they are also, finally, their aim is to be happy in this material way of life. Previously, we have seen example where they are unaware of Vedic practices, they are ignorant, and they think I am the body, so how to exploit material nature to make me happy. Either it is good work or bad work, they don't consider. Just exploit and extract happiness. Then they may be doing so many sinful activities. Naturally, nature is reacting that way. So suppose somebody may be following the Vedic way of enjoying the material nature, to give satisfaction to the body. That also, because it is binding us to the material world, which is not making us liberate from this material concept of life. This is also, Krishna says, this is small knowledge. People are attracted to the fruits or flowery words of the Vedas. That is also entangling us in this material world. And somebody may be worshipping the demigods also. Krishna also says, those whose minds are distorted with material desires surrender to demigods to get some material benefit. So that is also distraction for our liberation. Finally, somebody says, I am attached to the impersonal Brahman concept of life. So I don't like anything. This is not me. This is naiti process. So everything is Brahman. So they think this is the ultimate goal of life. So that also troublesome. So that's Krishna says in the 12th chapter. Even from the Vedas, you may attain to understanding of Karma Kanda portion, or you may understand the Paramatma portion of the absolute truth, or you may understand the worship of demigods for some material benefits. Still, all that is incomplete understanding of the absolute truth. So somebody may attach to impersonal Brahman, the preliminary understanding of absolute truth. So Krishna says here in the 5th verse of 12th chapter, how that the condition of those who are attracted to impersonal Brahman. So Krishna says in the 12th chapter, 5th verse, Klesho adhikaras tesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukkham deha vabdir avapyate. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested impersonal future of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. So Krishna is concluding that. So even though Vedas may describe so many things in the Upanishad, concept of impersonal Brahman or other portions of Karma Kanda, or if somebody is attached to this, that realization is very difficult because we have got accustomed to conditioned life, thinking that I am the body. So suddenly you cannot actually understand the impersonal Brahman. That is very difficult and troublesome. And beginning is troublesome, end also troublesome, because that is not our original constitutional position. This is only a temporary relief from the dukkha, that we take it as Brahman realization. So all this is following the Vedic injunctions mentioned by the Vedavasa in the previous literatures. Just like when in the Krishna's pastime, there is Dvijapatni's pastime is there, where learned Brahmanas are involved in conducting rituals, that Vedavada Ratha, doing so many rituals, doing yajnas. And when Krishna came, or Krishna sent the boys, we are feeling hungry, ask the Brahmanas, they can give some food. So when they went and asked the Brahmanas, they rejected. We are all busy involved in these rituals. After that, after final offering only we can give. Till now, we don't come here. Don't disturb us. Like that, they sent them away. But when the same boys, at the advice of Krishna, went to Dvijapatni, wives of the Brahmanas, immediately, out of love, they brought all the offerings and offered to Krishna. This shows that the Brahmanas, even though learned in the Vedas, they don't have the complete understanding of the absolute truth, the Supreme Lord's position, Sri Krishna. But they are involved in ritualistic ceremonies. They are stuck in the rituals only. They don't know the purpose for what they are doing. So that's how they bind to this material world, either heavenly or material planets. That is the cycle is Abrahma Bhuvana Loke. Either we are in higher planets or lower planets, but we want to try to enjoy in a materially, in a Shastric way. That is also binding, but that is not giving the ultimate liberation. Similarly, Krishna also, when Vrajavasis want to worship Indra for getting rain, so Krishna stopped purposefully. So demigod worship is not required, just worship the Supreme Lord, then everything is sanctioned. So like that, Krishna himself described about the direct worship of the Lord. So this verse is also similarly says, Narada is explaining, to solution for all problems, complete solution. Narada Muni is from practical experience definitely asserts that the prime solution for all problems of material work is to broadcast very widely the transcendental glories of the Supreme Lord. So this is the ultimate understanding of the conclusion of the Vedas. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Sarvasya chaham hridisannivishta matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha vedascha sarvam ahameva vedyaha. So Narada is not just telling glorify some ordinary person, or here it is said Vibhoho. Vibhoho is the Almighty. So Narada is advising Vyasadeva, just write some person's glories. No, he is not ordinary person. He is Vibhoho, the Almighty. The final understanding of the absolute truth. That is Bhagavan future. So that is the final understanding of absolute truth. So Narada, Vyasadeva did not directly glorify that aspect of the Supreme Lord, Bhagavan future, the personal aspect of the Lord. He might have described Brahman future, so many other ritualistic ceremonies in the other parts of the Vedas, but did not describe elaborately the personal feature of the Lord. Personal feature means he is also like person, like us. He is also Nityo, Nityanam, Chetanas, Chetananam. But he is not ordinary person. He is the one who is the Bhagavan, who is maintaining, who is the creator, who is the creator of everything. He is the source of everything. So Narada is advising directly glorify that personal aspect of the Lord, not just his energies or his lower descriptions of the Vedas. Directly glorify Lord's personal glories. Person means he has qualities, he has desires, he is having activities, his pastimes, his name, his glories, his paraphernalia. So all that you now directly describe. So that is the where Narada expressed his conclusion that Vyasadeva has to compile the final work or he has to follow the final instructions of Narada. So that's how this Bhagavatam is compiled. So Bhagavatam has Supreme Lord's activities. If you go to the 10th canto, Lord Krishna's birth, from birth onwards, Narada explains. That's the major portion of the elaborate portion of Bhagavatam is Krishna's personal activities. Krishna's birth, Krishna's activities, childhood, everything. So that is Srimad-Bhagavatam. So when you hear those things, then the kalmasha, the sufferings of the human beings are mitigated, because we are part and parcel of that Supreme Person. We are also person. So when we are reviving our relationship with Him, then automatically our mitigation of conditioned life is mitigated, or sufferings are mitigated. So that is the Narada is advising, and Prabhupada is also explaining that. So that glories of the Lord, it has to be broadcasted widely. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced in this Kali Yuga, because we are not expert in immediately understanding Bhagavatam. First, he introduced the chanting, the glory of the Lord, in the form of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So by chanting this, we can actually come out of all kalmashas. That is the Shastra says. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama eva kevalam, kalo nasti eva gatir anyata. Same word, anyata is used in this verse also. Sanklesha nirvana mushanti nanyatha. So there is no other method for our mitigating the sufferings. And this is not just for the conditioned souls, it's also for the who are learned. Just like Vyasadeva is already learned person from the Vedas. He was also not satisfied. For him also the solution is the same. And persons who are bereft of Vedic knowledge, who are conditioned souls, or the karmis, or jnanis, or akami, sarvakami, mokshakami, whoever it may be. The solution is the same. Tivrena bhakti yogena. This chanting of Hare Krishna mantra is the only solution. That is also said in another place. This Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Iti shodashaka namnam kali kalmasha nashanam nata paratara upaya sarva vedeshu drishyate. So we cannot find any other method for this Kali Yuga, for mitigating all our suffering is than to chant the holy name of the Lord, especially the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So the same thing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also says. What it says in first verse of Shikshashtaka, Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. Here also said Nirvanam, Sanklesha Nirvanam, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said Nirvapanam. So by chanting this Hare Krishna mantra, we get all relief from Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. So that is the only solution. So this is the topmost welfare for all people. So Prabhupada explains here, there are 4 good people and 4 bad people. That's Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Namam duskritano muda prapadyante naradama maya aparuta jnanaha asrim bhava mashritaha. So there are 4 kinds of miscreants. Lowest of mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, who partake the atheistic nature of demons, and grossly foolish. And there are also 4 people who actually, even though they are suffering by behaving or by taking part of the nature of Muda or Naradhama or Maya Apurta Jnana or Ausrim Bhavam, they are always suffering, but they don't acknowledge the authority of the God. So they want to whimsically enjoy and exploit the nature, and they are called as bad people. Suppose there are other people, they may be suffering, but they acknowledge the Supreme Lord. Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukrito arjuna artho jignasur artharthi jnanicha bharatarshava. So those who are needy, those who are suffering, those who are inquiring, those who are in knowledge, they also worship, or they come to the shelter of the Lord. So they can actually progress further and mitigate all suffering. So for them, those who are approaching the Lord or those who are not approaching the Lord, for them, all of them, the solution is the same. They have to hear the glories of the Lord, especially the Sankirtan, they have to hear. That is the solution. So that all suffering from material pangs can be mitigated. And the same thing in the Srimad-Bhagavatam also says, there is a verse from Bhagavatam by Gopis. So there is a very interesting verse similar to this, with like Narada's instruction. So it said here, Tava kathamrutam tapta jivanam kaviviriditam kalma shapaham shravana mangalam srimad-adatam bhuvi granantiye bhurida janaha. So the translation of this verse is, the Gopis are speaking to Lord Krishna. My Lord, the nectar of your words and the descriptions of your activities are the life and soul of those who are always aggrieved in this material world. These narrations are transmitted by exalted personalities, and they eradicate all sinful reactions. Whoever hears these narrations attains all good fortune. These narrations are broadcast all over the world, and they are filled with spiritual power. Those who spread the message of Godhead are certainly the most munificent welfare workers. Just like Narada is advising Vyasadeva to do, actually Vyasadeva wanting to do good or do welfare for all the living beings, considering all the people, either maybe in mode of goodness or mode of passion or mode of ignorance. He wants to provide Vedic knowledge suitable for their categories. Still, Narada is advising that is not sufficient. That good work is not sufficient. You have to do the most munificent welfare work. So Narada is advising directly you glorify the Supreme Lord. Leave aside all the previous compilations. Now compile Srimad-Bhagavatam. That is having the Lord's words, Lord's glories, the Supreme Lord's activities. So when we hear, when that is what it happens here. So when the nectar of your words, descriptions of your activities are the life and soul of those who are always aggrieved in this material world. These narrations are transmitted by exalted personalities. Just like Narada instructed Vyasadeva to do the same thing, and Vyasadeva compiled Srimad-Bhagavatam. Now, further acharyas who came in the disciple section of Vyasadeva, they took up the same advice from Narada, and they are glorifying, or they are broadcasting the same, the Sankirtana Yajna, or the Krishna's activities or Krishna's words in the Bhagavad Gita. They are glorifying all over the world. They are distributing this knowledge all over the world. Just like our own spiritual master, he took a lot of hardships to translate Srimad-Bhagavatam into English. Because Narada told to write Srimad-Bhagavatam to Vyasa. So Vyasadeva compiled. Now it is in Sanskrit. Now to explain to all of us to get benefit, what is Bhagavatam, what is there. Now Prabhupada wrote the commentary and translation. And not only did that, he translated into so many other languages and distributed all over the world. So that's what Gopis are glorifying Srila Prabhupada, that they broadcast all over the world these nectar of Krishna's words and nectarian pastimes for good of all people of the world. So Srila Prabhupada did establish the institution to broadcast this Sankirtana Yajna and Srimad-Bhagavatam all over the world, and whoever comes and take the benefit, they are becoming most fortunate in this material world. So we should take up this translation works of Srila Prabhupada, books, especially Srimad-Bhagavatam, and take up the glories of chanting Hare Krishna mantra and become perfect in this life, and distribute as much as possible to other living entities so that their suffering also can be mitigated. So we'll start with this. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki, Jai Guru Srila Prabhupada ki.